Oreo beat.
Okay, today's lesson is going to be on the 1611 King James Bible versus the Book of Enoch that people use to explain certain things like how you count the feast days, what day is Sabbath and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of go through first the history of the Book of Enoch and then history of the 1611 King James Bible. Then we're going to go into differences on why I call it the 1611 King James Bible versus the Book of Enoch, because there's things in the Book of Enoch that are not, that's opposite or does not flow with the Bible. Okay. Now, if it was one of the books of the Bible, I wouldn't call it verses because they all agree. I call it verses because they don't agree in everything. So one of them have to be wrong. You can't have both right when they're saying something different. So we're going to try to figure out, which is the Book of Enoch part of the Holy Bible, or is it not? Is it one of the hidden books that we're supposed to be reading, or is it not? Because sometimes you get Israelites that have no wisdom that go diving into the books that they don't have no reason to, because they don't have the wisdom to be able to know what's right and what's wrong. And they're easily thrown off, and then they start believing that different things like angels came down and slept with man and created giants and all this kind of stuff. They start believing that stuff because they're reading from different books that may say stuff like that. And the scriptures, that's not what happens according to scripture. Okay, so I'm going to give some information on the Book of Enoch. Go ahead and start reading.
The Book of Enoch is the Ethiopic language preserved by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So the full Book of Enoch is preserved in Ethiopia. Book of Enoch goes by the solar calendar.
The solar calendar. So the Book of Enoch goes by the solar calendar. We're going to find that the Hebrew calendar go by something different than the solar. So they only use the sun to pick feast days and to say when the seasons and stuff. They only use the sun to make their count their days and different things that they do. Go ahead.
364 days in a year.
So in the Book of Enoch, it says there's 364 days in a year. That is in several scriptures in the Enoch, Book of Enoch. Okay. Now, we know that there's 365 and a fourth days in a year. So that right there by itself should tell you that there's something wrong, because there's not 364 days in a year. That means every year is 1 1/4 days off. Okay. Which means 70 years, you're going to be about 90 days off on your calendar, which means spring will be in wintertime, because you will be counting off a day and 1/4 every year. 70 years later, you're going to be way off, and spring is going to be winter. So don't you think the Most High know how many days in a year? So if you read that's 364, but we know it's not 364. So what they have to do, they have to try to calculate in the drift, because the drift, because of a day and a fourth of year being lost, they have to try to count in a drift. It's the Book of Enoch says 364. You don't need to count no drift in. It's 364 days in a year, and that's what it says. Then you shouldn't have to do any type of figuring out a drift. You should know that's what it says. It said that's exactly the amount of days in a year. Go ahead.
The month pattern is 30 days plus 30 days plus 31 days, which equals 91 days.
So they do it in one season is 91 days. 30 days, 30 days, and 31 days is one season. Then 30 days, and 31 days is another season. And that equals out to be 364 days. So they do 30, 30, and 31. Okay, that's how they come up, and that's the 364 days in a year. Okay, go ahead.
Spring is 91 days, summer is 91 days, fall is 91 days, and winter is 91 days. They don't have months in the Enochian calendar like the Hebrew calendar. They count by the drift, and no instructions on full feast days, only in the law of Moses.
So they don't have in there, it doesn't say anything about how to count the feast days or anything. They go to the Holy Scripture, the King James Bible, to try to connect the Book of Enoch to the Holy Bible to get the feast days, because it doesn't give you the feast days in the Book of Enoch. Okay, so for example, for Passover, it says in the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. So it said the first 14th day of the month at evening of the month. They don't do months. So how are they going to figure out when the Passover is? When the Enochian calendar only go by years. It doesn't go by months. They don't do like we were month 1, month 2, month 3. It's not in the Enochian calendar. They use the sun only. Okay? So they have a solar calendar. Go ahead.
There are two main English translators, Richard Lawrence of 1812 and R.H. Charles of 1912.
So those are the two main people that translated the Book of Enoch. Those are the two people who translated it. Okay, and they translated in 1812, Richard Lawrence, and 1912, R.H. Charles. So those are the two people that did the translation at two different times. Go ahead.
You can't use the Enochian calendar to do feast days because it does not use months in the Enochian calendar. The scriptures tell you to count by months.
Okay, go ahead.
The Hebrew calendar.
So now we're going about the Hebrew calendar. Go ahead.
Lunisolar.
It's lunisolar, meaning that we use the moon and the sun to be able to know months and years and seasons. You need both. So it's we use more of a lunisolar calendar, not just a solar calendar like the Book of Enoch. That's a difference. That's a major difference. How are you going to know the month if you don't know when the month begins or what is considered a month? They don't have what a month is because they don't have months. Okay, go ahead.
Lunisolar meaning uses both sun and moon for calendar. The moon is connected to months and feasts, and the sun for seasons of the year. Of the 54 invitations issued to join the team of King James Bible translators.
Okay, so there were 54 people, high-level translators, that were invited to help translate the 1611 King James Bible. Go ahead.
Only 47 of the men appointed for this work are known to have engaged in it.
So there's only, of the 54, 47 did it. Okay, go ahead.
These were divided into 6 companies, 2 of which met at Oxford.
So 2 of the companies met at Oxford. Not a Negro on the street, on the corner, translating into Hebrew. These were pros, linguists, with degrees in translation. And there was a whole company that did it. Not one person like the Book of Enoch, or 2 people. It was 47 broken down into different groups to translate. Go ahead.
2 at Cambridge.
Then there were 2 at Cambridge. So you had 2 were at Oxford, 2 at Cambridge,
and 2 at Westminster.
All these are high-level universities. Okay? To translate the King James Bible into English. Okay, go ahead.
They were presided over by the Dean of Westminster.
The Dean, not the Dean of Negroes. The Dean of Westminster. Go ahead.
And by the Hebrew professors of the Oxford and Cambridge universities.
I'm sure you've heard of Oxford and Cambridge. They're pretty much the highest level universities. Not like the Book of Enoch. Go ahead.
And Archbishop Richard Bancroft was appointed as the principal overseer for the project.
Okay.
The Old Testament, 28 men.
So there were 28 men part of the group to translate the Old Testament.
New Testament, 22 men.
22 men were used to translate the New Testament.
The Apocrypha, 7 men.
7 men were used to translate the Apocrypha. Go ahead.
Each man in a company took the assigned chapter or chapters and worked through them by himself first. Then the company met together to compare what each man had done. One of the official rules said each man was to translate or amend the chapter. Then all would meet, confer, and agree what should stand.
So they all had to agree what would stand. It wasn't just one person interpreting saying that's what it is. They all had to individually then come together and make sure that everybody agreed on the translation. That's why we use the King James 1611 Bible. It's the most accurate of all Bibles. Go ahead.
So it was not one man's opinion. Each section was checked by several scholars. 1. They started with the original language text. For the Old Testament, they worked mainly from Hebrew. For the New Testament, they worked from Greek. For parts of the Apocrypha, they used Greek and Latin sources. They were not just translating from another English Bible, but they were also told to compare earlier English Bibles.
So they even went as far as to compare other English Bibles that were prior to the 1611 King James Bible. They went in and even compared them to see, okay, let me see how what we're translating and see why they're wrong. So they used a bunch of other versions that were created to compare to make sure that they were right when they translated to make it more perfect. Go ahead.
2. They used the Bishop's Bible at the base English text. One of their rules said that Bishop's Bible was to be followed, but only as little altered as the truth of the original will permit. In other words, they could keep older English wording when it was correct, but they had to change it where the Hebrew or Greek required it. They also compared English Bibles, including Tyndale Bible, the Coverdale Bible, the Matthew Bible, the Great Bible, the Geneva Bible, and Bishop's Bible.
Okay, so they compared all of these Bibles. Okay, they made sure that nothing was unturned when the 1611 King James Bible was translated. All of this was not done for the Book of Enoch. You have people that will believe the Book of Enoch over the Holy Scriptures. That's the first sign of an unwise person. Go ahead.
Each translator worked individually first. Each man in the company took the assigned chapter or chapters and worked through them by himself. Then the company met together to compare what each man had done. One of the official rules said each man was to translate or amend the chapter, and then all would meet, confer, and agree to what should stand. So it was not one man's opinion. Each section was checked by several scholars. The whole company reviewed it together. After individual work, the company debated the wording together. They compared Hebrew and Greek wording, older English translations, grammar, doctrine, cross-references, church reading style. Then the company agreed on the final wording for that section.
That sounds like there's a lot that's being done to make sure that this is right for us today, that the Israelites can read it and not be thinking that maybe something's off. Go ahead.
Other companies reviewed the finished books. After one company finished a book, they had to send it to the other companies for review.
Right, meaning that once they finished, they had to send it to Oxford, to the other group that's translating another one, for them to look over to make sure it's right. So after they went through individually, then their whole group looked at it and they finished it. They had to send it to the other group that was at another university to have that group look over to make sure that they were still correct after they have already done all the work. Go ahead.
The rule said each completed book should be sent to the rest and considered seriously and judiciously. That means Genesis, Matthew, Romans, etc. were not only checked by the company assigned to them, they were passed around for other translators to examine.
So they passed around after you had the top translators already translated. They still said, well, just to make extra sure, we're gonna send it to some other top ones for them to look over just to make sure that what we did is right. Go ahead.
Disagreements were sent to a final general meeting. If another company disagreed with the translation choice, they had to mark the place and give their reasons. If they could still not agree, the issue went to a general meeting of chief men from each company. So difficult verses had another level of review.
See, so if they didn't agree on it, they had somebody in charge, a chief from each group to look over it and make sure it's right. Go ahead.
They could ask outside experts. For especially hard passages, the rules allowed them to write to other learned men in the land for judgment.
Learned men. Not people who didn't finish high school. Not people on the street teaching that barely can speak English. These were high level people who sent it all around to make sure that the 1611 King James Bible was 100% correct. Not the Book of Enoch. Go ahead.
That means they could consult scholars outside the main translator group if a verse was difficult. And a final revision committee polished the whole Bible.
Then they had a final revision committee that polished it and made sure everything was perfectly done right. Go ahead.
After the companies finished, a smaller final group reviewed the whole translation before printing.
So again, a final group. After all of that, another final group made sure it was ready for printing and revision. Any misspellings, any whatever that may be off. Go ahead.
This was the last stage of consistency, wording, and final decisions. A scholarly summary describes the process as company review, review by outside experts when needed, and final editorial review by a super committee.
They had a super committee of high-level translators, linguists, to make sure. So when you get some Negro on the street trying to tell you that the King James Bible is off and that they know better than the top level translators and scholars and multitudes of them that went to make sure over many years, that's why it takes wisdom in these scriptures. Don't listen to people who try to tell you that something's off. This is the process that they did from beginning to end. Go ahead.
The KJV process was individual translator, to company review, to other companies review, to disputes settled by chief reviewers, to outside experts if needed, to final revision committee, and to printing.
So that's the whole process that they went through. It was over years. It wasn't one man just interpret and say, yeah, I think that's right, and put it out. That's why you can be assured that the King James Bible, 1611, is as perfect as it can get. No matter what anyone else says. Go ahead.
That is why people say That is why people say the 1611 KJV went through a very strong review process. It was not perfect because men translated it, but it was carefully checked through several layers before being published.
Okay, so now how do the people that use the Enochian calendar count feast days? Okay, so this right here. We know it's impossible for them to count it because they don't do months, but they have their own way of doing it. So let's learn how they do it. So I'm doing this so you all don't have to even go and try to. It's not worth your time to go even looking at that. You'll get people that got itchy ears, that just love knowledge and everything, and just want to think they're smart and learn everything. So they go and try to read these other books to think that they're smarter than you when they're dumb. Go ahead.
How to count the feast days according to the Enochian calendar. They count from 4 days from the spring equinox.
So what they do, they say, okay, the spring equinox is on this day, because spring is when the equinox is. And then what?
They count from 4 days from the spring equinox. The reason they do 4 days from the spring equinox is because God put the sun and moon in the sky on the 4th day.
So they say because God put the moon and the sun in the sky on the 4th day, then we're going to count 4 days after when spring hits on the spring equinox, we're going to count 4 days, and then that is going to be the first day of the year. That's how they do it. Nowhere in the Enochian calendar does it say to do it that way. Nowhere in the Bible does it say to do it that way, but that's the way they do it. Go ahead.
So they say since the sun and moon was placed in the sky on the 4th day, and spring equinox is the beginning of the spring, the 4th day after the spring equinox is the beginning of the year. They don't do like the Bible says and pick it by the first moon after the spring equinox because the Enochian calendar does not have months. Some start their count the day after the spring equinox, but most do it 4 days after the spring equinox.
So some do it the day after. They say, okay, spring equinox is this day, the day after is spring, so we're going to say that's the first day because it's the day after equinox. Some do it 4 days because they say, hey, God created the moon on the fourth day. But you see, regardless, they go back to the Bible to try to say God created the fourth day. They can't get that out of the so they're mixing the Enoch, the Book of Enoch with the Bible to try. See, the Bible doesn't need a mate. We don't go to the Book of Enoch to figure out stuff for the Bible. Everybody go to the Bible to figure their thing out. Doesn't matter whether they're Muslims or whatever. They always reading out the Bible. Do you see Israelites reading out the Quran? Do you see people in the Bible needing to read the Book of Enoch to figure out stuff with the Bible? We don't need to. That's why the scripture says it doesn't need a mate, because it has all the answers. The other books just kind of supplemented. Maybe you can get more information. Even history books. We may read some history books, but all that does is say, okay, 70 A.D., Israel was destroyed. And we'll read some history books that prove that. But whether we had those history books or not, we know the Bible say it happened. We know it happened. We don't need any other books. The Bible stands by itself. It doesn't need another book to verify or clarify or whatever word you want to say that is right and true. Go ahead. Okay, so we're going to go to Genesis 1, verse 14 through 16.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
Okay, so they take that. They say, okay, well, it says in Genesis 1 and 14 that he made the light in the firmament and the heavens to divide the day from the night, and to let it be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So we're going to, because of that, we believe the days are counted from the sun. And God created the sun on the fourth day, so we're going to start our count from the fourth day. They skip day 1, day 2, day 3, and they just go to day 4. And for them, day 4 is day 1. A lot of them even do Sabbath on a different day, because they say day 4 is really day 1. So they count from day 1, and they say, oh, the Sabbath is on Thursday. Really, if you count from day 1, the Sabbath is really for them, or they count from day 1, which would be Wednesday. It was supposed to be Wednesday. The Sabbath should be on Tuesday for them, but they do Sabbath on Thursdays. The numbers don't match. Okay, so the sun and the moon tell you when a day is over. You got that one is for a lesser light and one's for a greater light. So you have the greater light during the day, which is the sun, and the lesser light, which is the moon at night, and now you're done with a day. The moon tells you signs of feast days and when the months begin. That's the purpose of the moon. You can't get the feast days if you don't have the moon. It's the first month of the year. You have to know, how can you get the first month of the year if you don't do months? If you don't have a month. Okay, the sun and the moon tell you seasons. So the sun and the moon both together tell you seasons. Sun tells you when a year is up and a new year begins. When the sun crosses the equator northward, then spring is here. When the sun crosses the equator southward, is the fall or autumn equinox. So that's how we know when spring and autumn or whatever is here. It's through the equinox. But the difference is we count the first moon after equinox, because the scriptures say you have to do it from the moon. It doesn't say anything about count 4 days, because on the fourth day God put the moon in the sky, so you count 4 days after the equinox. We count the first new moon after equinox, the first full moon, when it was bright. The moon was bright. When God placed the moon in the sky, it was bright. He didn't place a dark moon or a sliver in the sky. So you're supposed to be counting from the full moon when it's new. Okay? Verse 15.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
Okay, so the sun marks the solar year and seasons: spring, summer, fall, winter. The moon marks months and appointed times: the moon, new moon, months beginning, and feast counts. Both lights work together. That's in Genesis 1 and 14 that we just read. So you need both lights. So you can't just have the lunar calendar. You have to have the sun and the moon. So our calendar uses the sun and the moon, not just the sun. Okay? So we have a lunar solar calendar, not a solar calendar. Okay? For the solar side, keeps the feast in the right season like Abib, spring. So how do we know? It says you're supposed to keep Abib. It's the first month of the year for Hebrew Israelites. But if you don't have months, how the scriptures say that the first month is Abib. If you don't go by months, because there's no Abib in the Book of Enoch. So they try to take the Book of Enoch and take pieces from the Bible and make their own doctrine. Not supposed to do that. The Bible needs no mate. The lunar side counts the months and days of the month, like Passover on the 14th day of the first month. Passover is the 14th day of the first month. The Enochian calendar don't do months. So how can you do the first month when they don't even have months? That should be enough to let you know I'm not going by no Enochian calendar. No Book of Enoch. There's not 364 days in a year. Go ahead.
That is why the Bible can say the lights are the seasons, or 4 seasons in Genesis 1 and 14, and also specifically say the moon is appointed for seasons in Psalms 104:19.
Right. Go ahead.
The Book of Enoch does not tell them to do it that way, but since there is no info on how to count the feast days, they go to the Bible for that part of the 4th day of creation. Combining the Book of Enoch with the Bible, they can't do that. The Bible tells you exactly how to count the feast days in a season.
Okay, let's go to Ecclesiasticus 43 and 6.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast.
See, the moon is a sign of feast. It's a sign of feast. The Enochian calendar doesn't have a sign of feast because they just use the sun. But the moon is what's used for a sign of feast, unless you don't believe the Bible. You want to believe, then you don't need to read the Bible because the Bible is off as far as you're concerned, because it can't be the sun is for feast days, to count the feast, and the moon is one or the other. And if you're saying that the scriptures say the moon is to count the feast, and you're using the sun from the Enochian calendar to count the feast, that means the Holy Scriptures are wrong. And the Enochian calendar, so you just need to read the Enochian calendar or read the Book of Enoch and just throw away the Bible because they don't work together. And just go by the Book of Enoch. Go ahead. Start 7 over again.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 7. From the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
So the moon is a sign of feast. So it's bright in the sky, and then it says a light that decreaseth in her perfection, meaning it starts dimming. It starts off bright, and then it starts dimming. That's how we know the new moon is the full moon. It's bright, and then it decreases. If it was dark, it would be increasing, not decreasing. The Bible says it decreaseth in her perfection. When is it perfect? When it's in the sky bright. When it's dark and you can't see it, what's perfect about it? Go ahead.
Verse 8. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing.
When it says, then it increases wonderfully in her changes. So it's going through like the seasons. Or the way the moon works. It starts off bright, it decreases in its perfection, then it starts going back bright again. Changing wonderfully till it gets full moon again. Go ahead.
Being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Shining in the firmament. not dull, dark. Okay? Now what we're going to do, we're going to do the same exact verses, but we're going to go into the Wycliffe Bible. The same Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 43 verse 6 through 8 in the Wycliffe Bible. It's just a little added. I mean, we don't necessarily go by the, but it's just to give you a little bit clarity again of what we're saying. Go ahead.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 verse 6 in the Wycliffe Bible. And the moon and all its men in his or its time is a showing of time and a sign of the world. And the moon and all in his time showing of time, a token of the spiritual world. A sign of the feast is a token or from the moon.
See, a sign of feast day is taken of or from the moon. That's what it says. It's clearer in the Wycliffe. Go ahead.
The light which is made little in the end.
It's a light that's made little in the end. So it starts bright and then it's made little in the end where you see no light. Just like the King James Bible said, a light that decreaseth in its perfection. It's bright and then it lessens. It's plain English if you know how to look at it. Read it 7 again.
Verse 7. A sign of the feast day is taken of or from the moon, the light which is made little in the end. Of or from the moon, the sign of the holy day.
See, the sign of the holy day is from the moon, not from the sun. They try to use the sun to count the feast days, using the sun and when the month begins. Go ahead.
A light giver that is lessened in the ending.
See, it's lessened in the ending. It starts off bright and then it lessens in the ending. And then it starts going bright again. Go ahead.
Verse 8. The month is increasing by the name thereof, wonderfully into the ending. A vessel of castles or of the host in high things, shining gloriously in the firmament of heaven. The month after his name is waxing, marvelously into the full ending. A vessel of tents or the host in high things, in the firmament of heaven shining gloriously.
It shines. When the feast day, when the new moon is shining bright. It's not dull. It shines bright and then it ends dark. And then it increases to brightness again. Okay, let's go to Genesis 1 and 14.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 14. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
It said, let there be lights in the firmament, not darkness in the firmament. For signs, for season, for days and years, for signs of feast days. Let there be lights in the sky. If it's dark, that's not a light. You cut your lights off, it's not a light. So the light has to be bright in the sky for a sign, for feasts, for new moons and stuff. Not a dark in the sky. It doesn't say, and God said, let there be darkness in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let it be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. It doesn't say that. It said, let there be lights in the firmament for signs and for seasons. So all the people doing the dark moon, that's not what the scriptures say. So I want to bring clarity so no one can ever say that it's the dark moon. If they do the dark moon, they just choose to do the dark moon and go against the Bible. But you all need to know exactly why we do it so no one can ever tell you something different. They won't be able to prove it like you can. Go to Genesis 1 and 19.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 19. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
So evening and the morning ended the fourth day, and that's the day when God put the sun and the moon in the sky. So that's why the Enochian people use the fourth day. They say, hey, the fourth day is really day 1. So we count from day 1, which is the fourth day. But the Bible say day 4 is day 4. It doesn't say anything about, hey, once you get to day 4, that's going to be really day 1. Because I put the moon in the sky and the sun in the sky on day 4. So I need you to start your day. So the fourth day is day 1, day 2, is the 5th day. Day 3 is the 6th day. Day 4 is the 7th. Day 5 is the 8th. Day 6 is the 9th, and day 7 is the 10th day. Well, I don't see nothing about no 10th day. If it go past the 4th day is the first day, then this should be 10 days or something like that in the scriptures. What happened on the 10th day? Because there ain't no such thing as you start your count from the 4th day. Do you understand number 4 is not number 1? Number 1 is number 1. And they tell you on day 1, he created this. On day 2, he put it in day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. You don't say day 8 and day 9 and day 10 and day whatever. How? That's when people, they start going off. They get around people that they think are smart and educated or knowledgeable of this, and then they start listening to them. And next thing you know, hey, yeah, the 4th day is really the first day, and it's 364 days in the year. Well, why do you think we have even on the Gregorian calendar that everyone hates? Why do you think we have a leap year every 4 years? So we can keep everything in order. That's why we have a leap year every 4 years, because it's one and 1/4 day off a year, or 1 day off, because we do 365, they do 364. So it's 365 days. We're a 4th off every year. So what do you do? A fourth, and a 4th is 1 day. So every 4 years, we add a day to our calendar, so we're never off. So we don't have spring in the winter. That's the purpose of a leap year every 4 years, because they know it's 365 and the 4th days in the year. So every year we are a 4th off, a 4th of a day off. Day 2, year 2, another 4th. That's 2/4. Day 3, 3/4. Day 4, 4/4. That's a whole day off. So they say, okay, that's now we're in a leap year, and so we can set the calendar back right. So we always have spring and spring, winter and winter, autumn, whatever. Summer, we always have it right. So even the Gregorian calendar is more accurate than the Book of Enoch or the Enochian calendar, because they got to start doing all these drifts and try to go back in history and try to figure out what day is what day. Hey, okay, we know it's 365 days, so that's 1 and 4. Let's count back 3,000 years. So today is really this. That. No one who does that. God didn't make it like that. He said, hey, the 7th day is your day of rest. Hey, we're going to count the feast days from the moon. He made it simple. No one has to go and put math together and try to calculate back 1 and the 4th days for the last 3,000 years and try to come where we at now. That's dumb. Go ahead.
A lot of Enochian believers say Sabbath is on Thursday because they start their count for Sabbath on the 4th day when the sun was put in the sky. They don't count from the first day when the Holy Bible says the first day of creation was. So their first day is Wednesday, which is according to the Bible the 4th day of creation. They ignore the first 3 days of creation, which means their Sabbath should be on Tuesday. But they do their Sabbath on Thursday for a large percent of them, which doesn't match. For example, 4th day of creation would be day 1 for them. Day 2 is Thursday, day 3 is Friday, day 4 is Saturday, day 5 is Sunday, day 6 is Monday, day 7 is Tuesday. So Tuesday should be their Sabbath, but Thursday is their Sabbath. So they don't believe in the Bible. They believe in the Book of Enoch that the 47 Hebrew scholars did not add to the Bible because they saw these errors.
Right. Don't you think scholars would pick that just like I'm able to pick that out? To me, that's common sense. Let's go to Isaiah 34 and 16.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord. That's the problem with these Israelites. They're not seeking out of the book of the Lord, which is the Holy Scriptures. They're seeking out of the book of Enoch, which is not the Holy Scriptures. Go ahead.
And read.
And read the Holy Scriptures, not the book of Enoch.
No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate.
None of the prophecies or anything in the Holy Bible will fail. It doesn't need a the book of Enoch to verify the Holy Scriptures. It stands by itself. It says, I don't need a mate. See, the book of Enoch need a mate. They got to go to the Bible to try to figure out stuff. The Bible don't need to go to the book of Enoch to figure out stuff because it doesn't need a mate. It stands alone. Go ahead.
For my mouth hath commanded it, and his spirit it hath gathered them.
God's mouth has commanded us to read out of the Holy Scriptures. The Torah, the New Testament, the Apocrypha, and he had the men translated so we can understand it. Go ahead.
So the book of Enoch and the Holy Bible are in disagreement on how to count the feast day. Number one, it does not tell you. You have to go to the Holy Bible for feast days and try to connect it to the book of Enoch, which only deals with the sun and not the moon. You can't count feast days without the moon according to the Holy Bible. For example, in the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover, Leviticus 23:5. The Enochian calendar says that there are 364 days in a year, which is incorrect. Just knowing that should let you know that the book is incorrect. There are 365 and a quarter days in a year, which causes a drift problem because it is off one and a quarter days a year, according to the Enochian calendar. So in 24 years, it's 30 days off. In 72 years, you would be 90 days off, which is about a full season. So spring would be closer to winter if you go by the Enochian calendar.
Right. Because as time progressed, that drift would make your calendar. It says exactly 364 days in a year. Now it goes deeper into portals and how the sun goes through different portals and all this kind of stuff in there. Don't worry about all that. It doesn't matter. It's wrong. And here's a couple. I'm just to show you. Here's a couple of the wording in the book of Enoch. I'm gonna give you a few of it so you can see what it says, that I'm not just guessing or making up that it's 364 days according to the book of Enoch. Go ahead.
The book of Enoch, chapter 72, verse 32. This is one of the clearest verses. And the year is completed in 364 days. That is 1 Enoch chapter 72, verse 32 in many English translations, including the R.H. Charles translation.
So that's the R.H. Charles. I told you only two people really translated, two main people, and that's one of the people. It says 364 days in a year. Go ahead. Let's go to another scripture in the book of Enoch.
Okay. 1 Enoch chapter 75, verse 1 and 2. This section talks about the 4 added leader days that complete the 4 seasons. Those 4 special days are what bring this 360-day base to 364 days.
Right. So the way they're doing it, they said they're doing 30 times 12, which is 360 days. So they have 4 extra days, what they call 4 seasonal marker days. And the way they do that is on the 3rd month, they add an extra day to every 3rd month of each season to get you to 364. Okay? Go ahead. Well, let's show another one.
In 1 Enoch chapter 74, verse 10 through 12, the point is that Enoch is comparing the sun/stars calendar against the moon calendar. And he says the sun/stars complete the year in 364 days. Here is the basic wording from R.H. Charles' translation. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days, amount to 364 days. And the overplus of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year comes to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. So 1 Enoch chapter 74, verse 10 through 11. Then verse 12 says, And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days.
It says perfect justice in 364 days. That's a year. It said in perfect justice, meaning down to the millisecond. It's 364 days. That's incorrect. Go ahead.
The problem is that the real solar year is about 365 and a quarter days. So a strict 364-day calendar still has drift unless some correction system is added. But inside the book of Enoch's own system, 364 days is treated as a perfect year.
Right. And they talk about how the sun goes through these portals a certain amount of times, and it equals 364 days perfectly. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, go to Exodus 13, verse 3.
Exodus chapter 13, verse 3. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day, in which ye come out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand the Lord brought you out of this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out of the month of Abib.
The month of Abib is the first month of the season. That's our new year, is the month of Abib, during Passover time. But because they don't do months, I guess they come to the Bible, and I guess they figure out a way to make their days to equal to be what day they think do the Passover, because it's not in the Enochian calendar, and you can't go over the Bible and then pick some of the Bible to choose what part you want to use to pick when the feast is. It doesn't say that in the Enochian calendar or the not Book of Enoch. Okay, give me Deuteronomy 16, verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
So he brought us out of Egypt by night in the month of Abib, Passover time. Okay, go ahead.
You don't even know how many years back to go to set it right.
Right. If you're going to go by that 364 and being a day and a fourth off, how far are you going to go back? 3,000 years to get it right? 4,000, 6,000, 4,320 days? How many days are you going to go back? You can't go back. You don't even know when the earth began to be able to go back to see how to count the 1/4 days back to see where we would be. That's how dumb it is. Go ahead.
God told the Israelites to count from the moon for feast days. So if the calendar drifts, Passover would no longer stay in the spring or Abib season. Using a strict 364-day calendar with no correction, Passover would slowly move earlier every year.
Right, and it says 364 exactly. That's what their Book of Enoch says. It doesn't say around 300, it says exactly 364. So we got to go by what it says. 364, which is off. You shouldn't have to do a drift. You shouldn't have to calculate back. Oh, I calculated back and this is what it is. How long did you calculate back? 3,000 years? 4,000? 4,320? How many days back did you count? How did you know when to start to count? See how Negroes, their brain doesn't click. Give me Isaiah 34 and 16.
Isaiah chapter 34, verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirits it hath gathered them.
Right. Again, the Bible doesn't need a mate. Okay. Give me Deuteronomy 4 and 2.
Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you. Neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God which I command you.
You're supposed to keep the commandments in the Holy Scriptures. It said you're not to add to this Bible and you're not to take away from it. When you go to that Book of Enoch, you have to add to the Bible and take away from the Bible. Okay? There's consequences for adding to the Bible and taking away from the Bible. Go to Revelations 22, verse 18.
Revelation chapter 22, verse 18. For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written into this book.
You want to wonder why you got problems and all kind of issues? Because plagues are going to be added to you for adding to this book. Go ahead. What about taking away from this book?
Verse 19. And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life.
Meaning that you ain't going to make it into the kingdom. If you take out and say, we don't count the feast days from the moon, we count it from the sun, and you don't have to do it that way, then you've taken it out, and you won't be in the kingdom because you've taken it out. Continue.
And out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book.
You'll be taken away. You won't get the kingdom. You won't rule over the nations. He's going to take you out of the book, Lamb's Book of Life, because you took out of the Holy Scriptures. So be careful with all these other books out there that there is no end. Be careful.
Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished of making many books.
Be admonished. Stop making many books. Go ahead.
There is no end.
There's not an end of books. There's books made every single day, hundreds and hundreds of books from back then, back it's 1800s, 1600s. Go ahead.
And much study is a weariness of the flesh.
Studying all these books, the Book of Enoch and all this is weary on your soul. Yeah, read 13.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
The whole duty is keep the commandments as in the scriptures, not to keep the commandments in the Book of Enoch that says 364 days in a year, and that you go through portals, that the sun goes through portals in exactly 364 days. If it's 364 days exactly, there should be no drift. So for the Enochian calendar, the feast days will be the same every year. Okay, that means every year Passover is the same day every year. It's not like that because we go by the month. So it's different every year. So it's already off. You're adding and taking away from the scriptures. He's going to take you out of the Lamb's Book of Life. I'm telling you, all these that think they're so smart, learning from a bunch of different places, thinking that makes them smarter because they are learning from a lot of different people. I never did that. When I wanted to learn martial arts, I learned from the best in martial arts. When I wanted to learn to fight, I made sure I was part of the best at fighting. When I wanted to learn how to swim, I made sure I learned from the best at swimming. I ain't jump around and have 5 different instructors and think that I am better because I got 5 different instructors. That's what a lot of people think. I used to have martial arts students that I wouldn't allow them to train with other people. I didn't allow them. But one time I did allow one because he came to me and he was already training with someone. But always try his little stuff he learned from the other instructor on me. And it never worked. He said it works on everybody else, but it don't work on you. Learn Wing Chun from somebody. Then he come try to Wing Chun on me. Because he tried on everybody and worked on everybody else. Then he come to me and said, man, I don't understand why nothing works on you. When you learn from the best, you don't have to worry about anything else. You learn from somebody keeping the laws, all of them. Not partial. Because a lot of these people that's doing this Enochian calendar and all this other little junk, they're not keeping the laws. Some of them not wearing fringes. Some of them stay at home for the Sabbath. They believe they can hold the convocations at home. They sit at home by themselves or with their family thinking that's a holy convocation when the Bible tells you what a holy convocation is. Some of them have 15 women. Some of them committing adultery, fornicating, and all that kind of stuff, teaching the Bible. And those are the ones that you want to learn from. They don't have a lamb for the Passover. They don't separate the lamb 5 days before that. They don't keep the law perfectly. And some of them have the nerve to think that they know the scriptures better. They think they know the scriptures better. Teach the scriptures to those that's keeping his laws. That's period.
Psalms chapter 111, verse 10.
Psalms 111, verse 10.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and a good understanding have all they that do his commandments.
Right. A good understanding of these scriptures are all they that do his commandments. So if you're not doing his commandments, you're missing Passovers. You're not convocating together. You're convocating on the phone, TikTok, all kind of things that you're convocating or call yourself convocating. That's not a convocation according to the scriptures. Not wearing fringes, don't have a beard. Woman has a dress on and want to tell you what to do. Not wise. The beginning of wisdom comes from the keeping of the laws. If you're not keeping the laws, you're not wise. Because if you were wise, you would be keeping the laws because you know that you're not going to make it into the kingdom unless you keep the laws. So you are obviously not wise. If you break Sabbath, then you're not a wise person. You're ignorant. You're stiff-necked. Yeah, you're ignorant and stiff-necked. You have to keep the laws to get the wisdom. You can't pick and choose which one you keep. You got a lust in you. Oh, I mess with women, but I still teach people and I still do this and I don't keep this and I don't keep that. I keep everything else, but I deal with women and everything. No, you're not a wise man. You should know the wages of sin is death. And whoremongers, they say, won't make it into the kingdom. So how can you be a whoremonger teaching the Bible? And you got dumb people that'll listen. You need to learn more. You need to get under someone that's keeping the laws and learn from them. Stop having such pride and ego. Okay, you want to close out?
So Matthew chapter 26, verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman hath done be told for memorial of her.
And we will do it as we're commanded. And with that, we say shalom.
Shalom.